Hey, game industry, what are you up to this week? Oh boy, here we go again. Oh well, once more into the breach. Iron Galaxy lays off 66 employees, all because they focus on DEI driven hiring practices and checkboxes instead of making good games and hiring based on merit. You'd think it's easy to get the most qualified people who apply, but hey, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory is the go-to approach for a lot of gaming companies these days. Just like Iron Galaxy focused very hard on DI and proudly showed it on their website, all for nothing. At the end of the day, would have thought. And the go-to defense on top of that was used here, inflicting the blame on the industry itself. Would have thought. Then again, considering Dave Lang, the CEO of Iron Galaxy, also has a profile picture on LinkedIn of him in a bathtub reading a book, it does inspire confidence in the seriousness behind the company. Hell, even Grumps pointed out that there are correlations between studios who do DEI and massive gaming layoffs. You think Newton's third law of motion is applied to these hiring types at this point? Now, for something that completely slipped under my radar last week, EA doing something good, or did something good in February. Source code for Command & Conquer, Tiberian Dawn, Red Alert, Renegades, Generals, and Zero Hour is now released. To top it all off, Steam Workshop support was added to Renegade, Generals, Zero Hour, Tiberium Wars, Kane's Wrath, and Tiberium Twilight. I don't know who is behind that, but give them a raise and more control in EA, please. Sticking with EA, Battlefield 6 footage got leaked, and gamers are actually happy with what they saw. Now, with the track record EA has, both in the past and present, this can still go either way, and March 2026 is enough time for this to either fly or fall. Only time will tell. In other news, the Gaben strikes back. A while back, Steam made a change to their policy forcing any product published on the platform to disclose how much AI was used in the making. That forced Activision to admit how much it really was, with Activision stating it only used AI to help develop some in-game assets. The change in the policy forced them to admit they were using AI voices during the SAG-AFTRA strike. If only that was the end of it. But Bellular also discovered a pattern that Activision uses to drive microtransaction sales in Black Ops 6. The pattern is for a system that teams up a new player with a more veteran player in order to show off what skins the veteran has, ergo passive marketing. Still, there's no evidence as of recording to show they are using it. Then again, just because it exists, that raises a few red flags, especially when you take into consideration the change to the kill cam in Black Ops 6. When you get killed, you can wishlist the cosmetic item that the enemy killed you with, setting up everything for the pattern to be implemented when they want to. Well, back to Poland we go with CD Projekt Red and The Witcher 4. In recent podcasts with The Witcher 4 Senior Communications Manager Paweł Burzła and Game Director Sebastian Kalemba, Burza said, and I quote, "You don't see Geralt doing these things. It's nimble, but he feels like a block in some sense. She's like liquid compared to him." Game director Sebastian Kalemba added that Ciri moves like she was raised by wolves in Kaer Morhen, stemming from her personality and her posture and stuff. When will they learn? It's not about the gameplay, but about the changes to the story they made. You think gamers are asking too much here? Hey, who am I to judge? Well, back to Avowed we go. Where will it stop? Nobody knows. Mods on Steam are banning people for stating they dislike the game because it includes DEI in it. Oh boy, you think that they'll let it go and just move on, but hey, criticism is not allowed for Avowed. And the game is perfect. You only have to forget that the same studio made Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, Fallout New Vegas, not to mention Knights of the Old Republic 2. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Speaking of fallen, game journalists can't pull their heads out of their asses. And the gamer needs to probably look into some better management at this point. especially with the latest articles on Marvel rival players and racists, and how Veilguard should have outsold Monster Hunter. Oh boy. Let's tackle the Marvel Rivals shit show first. When you say a game is full of racism, you need to have some solid proof. 2 cases, with one of them being on Reddit, and is already locked and removed by Reddit mods. Big win there, by the way. Is not solid proof. The article also claims it doesn't take long to find players using hateful names, but as usual, it doesn't provide the proof. Think that you'll have more than 2 examples? Well, technically 1, since Reddit took care of the asshat that made the Reddit post. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who plays the game are saints, far from it, but at least when you make an article, you can grab some pictures, for example, like build an actual case for the game being racist, not do what you do. Now, on to the Monster Hunter versus Veilguard slop they threw up. You'd think they would look into what Monster Hunter did that Veilguard didn't do, and reach a logical conclusion here. Oh well, time to sniff glue and write stupid stuff again. In this case, an article asking why Monster Hunter Wilds, regardless of the issues with the PC port that's still being fixed of writing, a game with a general consensus of being a good game isn't flopping like the Veilguard. Another quote-unquote hit piece from the game are on display, with features such as copy-pasting the same sentence, but changing the names and stating that they both have lost their identity, and remove some of their unique features to attract a bigger audience. Yet again, not providing examples of what was removed from Wilds. Well, at least you can count on X/Twitter to ratio that article multiple times. At least they could have gotten premium and get paid for posting that slop, but hey, not here to give them ideas. Now, what will happen when the co-president of Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, states, "Who gives a shit?" after revealing that their newest game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, will be a religious woke mess. You know where this shit is going. Looking at the video with the like to dislike ratio, considering its third-party add-on tracking, and the suspiciously high number of positive comments, this could potentially be a case of deleting and or shadow banning people in the comments for voicing their criticism of the game. To add fuel to the fire, the story was also leaked on 4chan a while back. Hey, stay classy 4chan. And later, getting a post on Twitter/X basically confirming the leak. It's quite concerning how the future of Naughty Dog looks like. Well, that is if you work for them. Sticking with poor life choices, Fragpunk, a new 5v5 hero shooter, was released recently. And it came with heavy monetization systems that has 9 currencies, multiple paid memberships, and 2 premium battle passes. Where Creed is good and has no idea this doesn't work outside of games against bots. To add insult to injury, for the game at least, some players mentioned that during the beta phase of the game, the movement felt better compared to the final product. Actually, it uses AI art for paid products. Talk about going all in on cheap slop and not trying to make something decent. It's time to Warner Bros. With Warner Bros. And they're double down on DEI by changing the name to Inclusion. Very subtle of them. The Chief People and Culture Officer and Chief Inclusion Officer proudly state, "Our success absolutely depends on having a team that's truly diverse, reflects all perspectives, and has a culture where our employees feel valued and respected. These have always been our values, and that won't ever change." They won't change unless you start losing money. The cherry on top is that they joined Activision Blizzard with DEI promotions. Now that wasn't on my bingo cards for the year, but hey, surprises are abound. Now let's circle back to Veilguard real quick, since the numbers are out for PlayStation Plus users. It shouldn't be surprising that it doesn't amount to anything really, with data compiled from over 3.4 million active accounts, and not being able to crack the top 10, sitting at number 15, a spot below the Cowabunga collection. It got more players than this excuse for a game that is the Veilguard. That is as of the 9th of March 2025. EA really needs to get their priorities in check considering they were aiming for 10 million copies over the lifetime of the game. That is not something you should really be aiming for considering the state of the game is in, and you can't fundamentally fix writing and self-inserts in there. I mean, come on EA, you had something good going with the last 2 weeks. Don't fuck this up! On top of that, Pirate Nation even tweeted that PlayStation Plus can't save it with X/Twitter jumping in to make fun of the game in the replies. Moving on to a Canadian game dev deciding that it's unsafe to travel to GDC in San Francisco. Why you ask? Because the government will imprison any Canadian dev for not aligning with the government's ideology. What the hell is this? North Korea? The developer further went to also state that if you go to the US, you need to stay in touch with your family and friends so they know where you are at all time. And also make sure to wipe your phones and know your rights before you enter the country. Jesus Christ, this guy's making it out to be a war zone. Let's think logically here for a minute. Why would they want you to wipe their phones when going anywhere? Why would you do something like that? You can be the judge on that one. I'm pretty sure you're smart enough for this. Now, on to some game developers that are currently shitting their pants because of a free-to-play game in the same genre as one of its games that beat the snot out of it. Blizzard is trying to win players back by collabing with Le Seraphim to get more transformative skin designs in hopes of competing with Marvel rivals. This reeks of desperation! It's so bad that Reddit started taking pot shots at the move Blizzard made. 3 weeks in a row, who would have thought that Wings Interactive would be in the spotlight again? This time, an insider reached out to Gothic Therapy and told Master of the TDS that going private on social media was to protect themselves and developers from harassment. The insider also shown that Wings Interactive painted Master of the TDS as an evil person who incites harassment towards them. Said insider also cited that they received some monetary support and testers from Wings. Said testers the insider got were disappointing though, because the sample pool wasn't acquainted with their project. All of that goes against the promise from Wings that they will support the developers they claim to work with. And let's be real here, this is not to protect anyone from harassment. Them going scorched earth was to hide what they were doing. And of course, this goes without saying, don't harass any game developers because their games suck. The market already gave them that lesson there. Alright everyone, time to do some game designing. Smash JT got a leak from an insider explaining why so many female characters look like men. This should be taken with a grain of salt at the end of the day, since this is the default Unreal Engine female model. That on its own does explain why the Mancha is relevant for many female characters, but it's one of the pieces in the puzzle. That being said, Unreal Engine doesn't help matters. If the leak is accurate, it takes a lot of effort to create a naturally looking female character, with the default body looking nothing like a female. Then again, I can't code to save my life, but looking around the internet, the difficulty mainly comes from what you start with and how much work you're willing to put into it to create a female character. At the end of the day, MetaHuman Creator is included in Unreal Engine 5 and by the looks of things is the go-to most developers use, and considering it leans on the androgynous side, this is not surprising. Financial reports need me to find out how badly companies have it when they make bad choices. Square Enix published Life is Strange Double Exposure, and it was a disaster, the game being a large loss on the financial report in terms of sales. And while it's sitting at the mixed on Steam, just to go on a 40% sale 6 months later, this smells of desperation to recoup as much of the costs as possible. Despite bringing the original protagonist of Life is Strange, Max Caulfield, back, the studio was not able to meet the expectations of fans when it came to his relationship with Chloe and the series canon, leaving a sequel highly unlikely. As of writing, the game on Steam has 133 players with a peak of 8,525, half of what the first episode of the franchise has. 374 players playing and 8,260 at peak. Now, surely this has nothing to do with the game being affiliated with Sweet Baby Inc., right? I mean, why would a company that's well known for forcing the ice slop down people's throats being connected to your game a bad thing? Or the game studio behind the game, Deck 9, being affiliated with Sweet Baby Inc. No, it must be the gamers. Let's be real. In the minds of these types of people, you always push the blame onto others instead of taking accountability. No wonder this was a flop with double trouble like that. Sticking with Square Enix, the numbers for Final Fantasy XVI are in, and it got outsold by games from the Famicom, NES/SNES era that were only sold in Japan. 3.5 million copies sold. The game designer behind Devil May Cry 5 responsible for the combat. You think that this has nothing to do with it being a PS5 exclusive for over a year, and if someone wants to play it, they had to have a PlayStation 5 around the time where the supply was still limited. You think a game being platform exclusive is a good thing? Well, this proves otherwise. Oh boy, at this point, I really wish Ubisoft could stay quiet until the 20th of March. But hey, another week, another Ubisoft shitstorm. Oh boy, where should I start with this? I mean, let's start with the marketing team behind the game. Clearly having no idea what to do with it. Considering it got burnt with crisp on X/Twitter with their attempts at marketing. And on top of that, the video showing the digital deluxe edition got ratioed. You'd think they would just give up and accept their fate, but no, we have more! With the game being estimated to cost over 400 million USD, if the leaks are correct anyways, and considering the game itself was leaked, I wouldn't put it past Ubisoft to waste so much money on this slop. At the end of the day, this is just a rumor, and the end cost of this slop be anywhere between 2 million to 3 million? Rough estimate. That would still hurt Ubisoft financially at the end of the day. On top of that, Ubisoft CEO confirmed that the delay of the game cost them around 21 million US dollars. With the second delay adding more costs on top of that, all for the quote-unquote high-quality experience they want to deliver. Oh, brother. At this point, I can't even think of anything to roast them for. They clearly are going to fail the Iron Man challenge without anyone's help. To top it all off, member of the Hyogo Prefecture Assembly, Nagase Takeshi, and several shrine officials condemned the game, calling the depiction deeply disrespectful and culturally offensive, even going as far as stating that it's not okay just because it's in a game. Considering the game is set in Japan, you'd think Ubisoft wants to avoid upsetting the Japanese audience, but hey, common sense never stopped them while this was over. Aha! There's more! Ubisoft shareholders are angry at Ubisoft. What a surprise. All because of its horrible mismanagement at the hands of the current management team. The CEO of AJ Investments, Juraj Krupa, is calling his fellow investors to join him in an upcoming fiscal protest, all outside Ubisoft's HQ in Paris. On top of that, he's also demanding a clear roadmap to recovery and to address declining shareholder value, lackluster operation execution, and failure to adapt to the market trends. Juraj Krupa also alleged that Ubisoft is hiding information from investors, with him citing a rumored partnership with Saudi-based savvy investment firm to work on the first DLC pack for Assassin's Creed Mirage, and the discussion between Ubisoft, Microsoft, and EA regarding potential interest to acquire some IPs from Ubisoft. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't put it past Ubisoft going behind shareholders' backs at this point, considering their track record. And lastly, in the land of Ubisoft, 3 former senior executives, Serge Ascot, Thomas Tommy Banquais, and Guillaume Patrick's. I'm pretty sure I butchered those names, but I'm too busy to are accused of systematic sexual and moral harassment. The case first began back in 2020 with multiple anonymous testimonies on Twitter. Now it's been brought to light by reporters from Liberation and Numerama, with the three executives facing a lot of allegations that range from religious harassment to sexual inappropriate remarks and adult content full volume. You can find the article going over the allegations against all three of them below. You'd think that Ubisoft's HR department would do something about it. Well, you're wrong. They do and didn't stop it not one bit. Even with all the testimonies against Ascote, he continues to deny any wrongdoing. In a statement released by his lawyer, he categorically denies having harassed a single colleague, and that Ascote is unaware of any appropriate acts done by other Ubisoft employees. From the moment it's something anchored in the company and the managers do not intervene to stop it, it is systemic to the company. Cited Charlotte Muriel, rejecting the defense. For the love of everything that's holy in this world, Ubisoft, stop it! Get some help! Well, back to the lands of Activision and the 4 AI-generated advertisements they tried to pass as games. Crash Bandicoot Brawl Party, Guitar Hero for mobile, Call of Duty Zombies, and Call of Duty Snipers. The 4 attempts at gathering data from Activision were uncovered after people tried to download them, only to be greeted by a screen that said, "This isn't the game, but it could be one day," followed by a survey to the face. Well, at least to the face of anyone who tried downloading them. This is done by Geek Lab. All in order to extract data from players, then give it to companies in order to make a game using said data. It's good to have data for what players want, but that also prevents creativity from flourishing. At the end of the day, this could lock game developers in a circle of mediocrity and gamers into not discovering something they might enjoy just because the developer decided to play it safe. Let's wrap this up with Xbox! And they reveal about a feature that all game journalists, and I use that term loosely, will fall in love with. An AI friend that can coach them and potentially other users on how to improve their skills and provide assistance on games if need be. And for your viewing pleasure, a visual representation of game journalists' intelligence and a pigeon. Enjoy! Well, that was all for this one. Like if you like it, dislike if you dislike it, and I'll see you guys next time.